has shone bright, with the country entirely asleep, then the work of the journalist begins. Our imagination goes wild, dreaming, thinking, and searching for that unique story idea. Visualizing and translating these ideas into action brings the story to life. And, like the fizz in our wine glasses, the story bubbles, finding space as headlines on front pages in the print, broadcast electronically, and posted on new media across the globe. And when it catches the attention of the powers that be, they act speedily. Join my able panelists and I as we speak to weightier issues from all quarters of the professional ladder, share our journalistic experiences, and offer insight beyond what is reported, all on one magazine platform, the Reporters Roundtable. Every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on GBC24. Watch a repeat on GBC24 on Sundays from 4 to 6 p.m. and on Tuesdays on Ghana Television from 3 to 5 p.m. The Reporters Roundtable. All angles, all sides. Right, everyone, welcome to the Reporters Roundtable. And on May 25, 1963, Africa made history with the foundation of the Organization of African Unity, that is OAU, now AU, which brought the continent together. And since then, the 25th of May has been celebrated widely across the world, particularly in Africa, to signify Africa's identity and unity. Africa is on the march towards a more prosperous future in which all its citizens, young, old, male, female, rural, urban, of all creeds and backgrounds, are empowered to realize their full potential. Live with satisfaction and pride about their continent, a future with healthy, well-educated people living in robust and developed economies. And on today's program, we'll tackle Africa's transformative development and investing in the youth, a march towards a prosperous future. My guest and I will do this, and in the studio with me is Fidel Amache. Fidel is an international relations analyst. In here is George Asekre. George is with Radio Ghana and the host of Worldview on GBC24. And also with me is Duke Tego, who is with the Insight newspaper. My name is Rebecca Ewa. You can follow us on Twitter on Roundtable GH. You can as well send any your comments on our Facebook platform, Reporters Roundtable. On our interactive segment, you can also send in your text, your WhatsApp on 02444754422. And when our phone lines are activated, you have that note to call us on 0501 552 729. A warm welcome and happy AU Day to you all. Josh.
I choose not to respond to that.
Why?
As the program progresses.
Okay, let's talk about the AU. How significant is it to observe this day? George, I'm starting with you.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Becky. I think it is a day set aside to perpetuate mediocrity on the continent, encourage laziness, and help retard development. I particularly do not see the essence of having a day like that in this anti-protectionist world. Yes, the very ideas envisaged by our forefathers, excellent. But the question is, if your father began something good with all the good intentions and you cannot sustain that, what would then be the relevance? I see our leaders, they talk AU, they meet, drink tea at the expense of the poor taxpayer, and when it is time for us to work to develop our various countries, we give ourselves a full day, no work, then we say AUD. So for me, I don't support the idea of celebrating AUD in this our time.
Wow, Duke, do you share the same?
Well, I disagree vehemently because I think in 1963, if we were around at the time to see the reason why these meetings were held, the bringing together of African people into the formation of a common union to fight for the interests of the ordinary man, the ordinary African, would have recognized how important it was. Now, Becky, I think to start, it is important to ask ourselves, what was the material conditions that pushed Nkrumah and several others to form the Organization of African Union, or Unity then, on the 25th of May, 1963. Now, you come to realize that colonial rule had actually left so much, a very high degree of illiteracy amongst our people. Now, huge amounts or millions of African people also had been left poverty-stricken, had been left disease-ridden, and huge amounts of African resources actually had been siphoned out of our country. In terms of mineral resources, of agricultural resources, in fact, they were looted. To describe it properly, they were looted. Many people visit Belgium today, and they are so amused, you know, they are so surprised. How come Belgium looks so nice? But a few will come to recognize that all that you see in Belgium today came out of the rubber that was produced in Congo. And the consequence of this were that people's arms were chopped off. People suffered so much calamities to give Europe the status it has attained today. So I think that we have to understand these things very, very clearly. Now, how come that there is the continuous pillage of our resources, year in, year out? And you see, you come to realize that one nyati company, one small company, based somewhere in Colorado, Denver, is operating here in this country, and over the past 4 years, it's a mining company, over the past 4 years, has produced or has made $8 billion, $8 billion out of the Ahafo mine in Brong Ahafo, and also Adachi mine in the eastern region. These are the conditions that still plague us in Africa today. And that is why I believe that Nkrumah and several others were right in moving to bring all African countries together, because the conditions were not only, you know, limited to Ghana. Everywhere in Africa, it was the same. In my very short life, I'm privileged to have traveled quite extensively to some parts of Africa and other parts of the world. So I can make the comparison and understand for myself what is happening.
And to you, it is very important to observe the AU Day, right?
It is critical, it's important, because it gives us an opportunity to reflect, to ask ourselves that how come that in spite of all the brilliant efforts, in spite of all the hard work of Nkrumah and several others, the African people are still not united, and in our individual fragments, we are still suffering the conditions that we used to live in 1963.
Those begs for answers. Vidal, let me have your initial take on the observance of the AU Day, how important that is.
First of all, I think that we must all recognize that the nation states was born in 1648 after the Treaty of Westphalia. Now, when this happened in Europe, it took Europeans 300 years to realize that they have to move away from war to come together to form what we now know as the European Union. Fortunately for Africa, at the dawn of independence, or in the various territories, we decided that, look, let's start the unity now. Let's have a continental organization that will push our interest, because individually we will fall, but then together we can stand. So that was what was happening. Now, it is very important to note that Nkrumah was disappointed on the 25th of May 1963. Why am I saying that? His plan for African unity wasn't what we had. So the OAU or the AU, as you see it now, was not the vision of Kwame Nkrumah.
But what was the initial plan?
That's what Kwame Nkrumah actually wanted the whole Africa to unite as one state. So that it will have a federal system. That if Ghanaians are unique, we will have our own federal system. Nigerians will have theirs, but then the whole Africa will have one flag, one anthem, one currency, and we will have roads connecting the various territories. From South Africa, you know, Africa is one landmass, except for Madagascar and Cape Verde, that are islands, the few islands that we have. We will have roads moving from Cape Town to Tripoli or Cairo. You understand? We will have roads moving from Dakar to Ethiopia, that is Addis Ababa. So all these things were the plans of Kwame Nkrumah. And he thought that if we did that, our resources will be harnessed. We will have collective bargaining. We will now have, we will have the force to challenge the imperialists. That was his plan. But it didn't end. So at the time when Dr. Nkrumah was at the AU on 25th May 1963, he was actually disappointed that some people, some way, somehow thought that, well, you have enjoyed since 1951 as head of government business, and we just gained independence, so we should also enjoy in our country, because people saw themselves as kings rather than president. People saw themselves as overlords rather than servants to their people. So they thought that we should also enjoy. So don't let us just unite. So we had this Casablanca group, we had the Moravia group, and all sorts of groups. For Africa to unite, we had such blocks that were working against each other. So at the end of the day, we had to settle for what we had. A fragmented state that were pretending to be united. And
has that worked for us?
That is where we are. That my two brothers would disagree because of some of these things. That, look, when we decided to go our individual way and pretend to unite, what has happened? We've not gained anything.
Oh, no,
except for some few achievements where they say, oh, there has been some gas pipeline that has been, and some of them, you go into it and realize that the investors or the people who laid the pipe were actually from Europe. We didn't gain anything from it, apart from the fact that the pipes are now delivering some gas that we cannot pay for to some factories. You understand? So most of these things, we must look at them objectively and realize that, look, we have to move forward. Look, the ECO, we were talking about ECO. Have you been able to achieve it? No. This is just West Africa. We've not been able to achieve it. You go to Europe, we have Romanian speaking Romanian, we have German speaking German, and Norwegian speaking Norwegian, and yet they are together. When you come to Africa, they said that we must go and learn French compulsory before we can unite. Should we? No, it is not necessary. If you are serious, you come together, you trade amongst yourselves. That is intra-African trade. You do it. But a Nigerian petrochemical industry would like to go to Brazil for salt instead of coming to Ghana, where we have it in abundance. You understand? So these are some of the issues that we have to look at. That what Nkrumah and other people envisaged for Africa was not what we had. What we had was a compromise. Because then, the Francophone countries were tied to the umbilical cord of the colonial masters. Some of the Anglophone countries were just like lackadaisical and things like that. Well, why are we coming together? Is Nkrumah going to become African president? These were some of the things people were thinking about. Instead of looking at how coming together will benefit the ordinary people. These are the issues that...
As a young person, you know, today our focus mainly is on investing in the youth, right? So, what solutions would you give? Because I can see you are passionate about what yes,
I'm African.
I know you're an African, a true one, of course. Yeah. So as a young person and having, with all this historical background and having seen how far the AU has come, do you have any solutions for our leaders and how we can make the AU work as what really the founding fathers wanted it to be?
Recently, when the French were having their elections, Africa became a topic. Why? The French still see Africa as an extension of their territories. That is metropolitan France. Why should it be so? we must, if African leaders want the youth to develop, we must have conscious policies. It is not talk. It is not, oh, I want the youth to do this, I want the youth to do that. Look, we have one of the most teeming youth across the world. Now, our population is growing faster than that of China, that of India, the traditional population banks in the world. We are now growing faster. The youth are teeming. What are they doing for us? The jobs, the schooling. We've had our school, our education system is still the same. We are talking about science. So a country like India is able to shoot shuttles into space for Italy and take fee. But the whole Africa, no country is serious in going to space. We still have to pay fees when we have to use satellites. What is wrong with that? Meanwhile, we have scientists at Professionalism and other people around. So what is happening? These are people who are sent to NASA to do very fantastic jobs. But when it comes to Africa, nothing is happening. What's happening is the role modeling. That is when the role modeling, that is the leaders around mentoring the youth. Nothing is happening. Investment in the youth. What is investment in the youth? You are talking of agriculture. We are allowing the European Union to give subsidies to their farmers. When it comes to Africa, they will tell us that no subsidies, and then we sit down and agree, no subsidies. When it comes to cocoa, we have Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. We've never had any serious agreement. And we are the two largest producers of cocoa. We've never had any agreement that this is how we want to fix the price. Recently, oil prices went down. OPEC is coming together to cut supply so the prices will go up. Have you ever done that? Never. If you want to invest in the youth, it's not about talking. It's about putting down policies so that the youth will know that, look, if I take up this or take advantage of this opportunity, it's going to earn me something. Like Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, he did what he did because in the country that he found himself, the opportunities are rewarded. You know, comes with reward. But in Africa, when you see that young people are successful, perhaps that he had some capital from the mother. But those of us from the poor backgrounds, they just, motivational speakers just speak to us. We don't know what they're talking about. No, and I'm very serious about it. You understand? So I think that there should be conscious effort. Our leaders must take us serious. It is not about just talking. You know, when we came here, you asked me that, Fidel, you are in jacket.
Yes.
And today is African Union's Day.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. For you know, the cotton for this was from Egypt or maybe Burkina Faso. But the fact is that the end product came from outside. So the actual capital, I mean profit, goes outside. These are the issues. It's not that the origin of this is not from Africa. It's from Africa, but are we producing it? What are the opportunities? These are the issues that we have to look at.
Right, Josh. let me have your take on the theme itself for this celebration, harnessing the demographic dividends, yeah. Investments in the youth. Do you think it's at the right time? This theme is for the right time and at the right moment?
When I was reflecting on the theme, then something came to mind. You know, let's take Ghana. You invite a big man to come for your program, so including ministers. They'll tell you, write a speech for me. So he's come to read a speech. It's coming from him.
Okay.
But technically, it's somebody who has written it. So the person reading it is not committed to that. If you do not get the fundamentals of anything you are doing, there will be absolutely no twist of logic by which you can arrive at your destination. Have we asked ourselves why Somalis in Kenya, Ethiopia are fighting to reunite with their people in Somalia? The very problem of legitimacy in Africa remains a problem. And until we do that, recently we have some few guys in the Volta region who thought that they needed to have their own state. So it appears that we are not even convinced with the states that we have. We do not see ourselves as one. They are they and we are we. And so until we cement that, it becomes very difficult practically to work. So on paper you say, yes, we are all one. Even in church, a friend was telling me, in church where they pray together, take collection and tie together, they wanted to marry somewhere in Mampong. And one said, oh, this person is actually not from my ethnic group. But these are people who go to church to pray as one body, one soul, or one Christ, however they say it. The point I'm making is that until we see ourselves as one with a common purpose and vision, it becomes very difficult. There would have been nothing wrong with having this theme if we were set to move forward. But ask ourselves, how committed are our leaders for the youth on the continent? Take Ghana. They tell you before you become president, you have to be how many years old? What positive mindset do they have for the youth? So you cannot become president today. By virtue of the fact that you are a young lady, it is assumed that you don't have what it takes. So you should be an old man, somewhere 40 plus, before you can start. So you see the very notion they have about the youth. So you say, yes, you want to invest in the youth. But technically speaking, you do not have policies in place that will give the youth that confidence to move ahead. Young people in Ghana, I was going through some documents about immigration and remittances. Lot of Ghanaians, lot of Africans, highly educated, they go outside. Why? They go and work there to build the economies there. But when they come here, what do? They come and loot our resources together with our own people. That's why my brother was speaking. I was like, wow, they loot our assets, yes, but who should be blamed? In his book, Things Fall Apart, Chino Achebe at the point Okunko remarked, so if you sit in your OB and somebody comes to defecate there, do you sit down and watch as a man, Africa at that? No. You take a machete and hit the person. That has been the very notion of the African. But if you sit here and a Chinese comes, he goes to your village, he's polluting your water, he's taking your resources out to build his economies. If you are even going there to school, look at the rigorous processes you go through before they are giving you, you are given a visa. So we sit down and they come. How do they succeed? You don't owe a land, I don't. When they come, they go to the elderly people, our leaders. They give them the go ahead. So how come these same people have very good plans for the youth? It then becomes very, so you can invest in the youth. It is good, nothing wrong with that. But for me, it is just on paper. We don't have enough commitment shown by our leaders that they want the commitment. When this guy, Malema, in South Africa started, look at how he was tagged, even though he succeeded. Because he's a young man and he felt that the system was not too good, he wanted to critique it, hey, he doesn't respect. Today in Ghana, young people, they tell you are supposed to listen. Yes, let them talk and you do the listen. So how do you invest in me without having me play that critical role
that
yes.
you
until we get to that stage where you see us as active participants in the building process of our continent, and that shouldn't be within maybe Botswana alone. It should cut across. One country is not enough. If we are talking of Africa, we are so many, but if half or 40% of Africans begin to think that way, then we will begin to be making progress. But for now, I don't see the commitment on the part of our leaders for the good of the youth. They go there to enrich themselves. They don't even care whether if they take foreigners to come and loot the state at the expense of future generations. So until we change that. But you see, we have a role to play. It is about time we, the youth of Africa, began saying, look, this is our land. Our forefathers fought for it. And so it is time for us to also do our part. Then we have to get up and critique the system. Some will die as a result, but that will be the very best way we can change the status quo. Why will we sit down for them to say, you need to be 40 years to be president? Will it be out of place for the youth?
You're calling for an amendment to the Ghana's constitution.
Yes. So we have to do something as young people on the continent if we want the good of the... But for the outgoing generation, I think they have failed us.
Well,
right. Let's talk about that.
I would like to start by saying that I don't really want to be a Julius Malema. You understand? And I think that the youth must be very, very conscious. And they must ask themselves, what role do we want to play in society? And what role does society itself think the youth can play? You see, because we are not living in a homogeneous society. There are different classes in our society. You understand? Today, when you talk to the youths and you ask them, what do you really want to do for Ghana? What can you do for Ghana? All of them will likely tell you how they think that they can be very good managers. Of course, maybe very, very nice shoes like my brother. You understand? But I think that it is more than that. You understand? In our society today, there are some of us who are very comfortable sitting in our offices and only importing goods from either France or from Germany? How can it be that today, as we speak, Ghana is the second largest importer of tomato paste all over Africa? This is the condition under which we live. You understand? So what role does the youth want to play? And how are we going to do that? These are very important questions. Else, you end up having the youth just come and they will end up playing no role. They will end up flowing with the tide. Don't be surprised. In Africa, we have had quite, young leaders in some of our countries. How different has the story changed? You understand? So what is it the youth want to effect? What are the changes they want to bring to society? How much have we learned about our own country, our own continent, so that when you are put into a place of responsibility, you can do something different like Kwame Nkrumah did to bring real independence to our people?
Then it means as young people, we need to upgrade at every point in time. We need to gather knowledge and all of that so that we prepare ahead of an opportunity.
Exactly. You see, because Nkrumah states very clearly that the substance of domination is still very rife in Africa. And he said this long before, he died. And as we sit today, there are still efforts at trying to entrench that state of Africa. And you see, we ask ourselves very often, why is Africa not changing? Why is Africa not changing? And so much analysis is being made. I'm very sure that over the past 5 years, Ghana Television has brought in very wonderful people who has made brilliant analysis. My own boss, Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr., he makes so much analysis. Sometimes in his own privacy, he cries. You'll be surprised, that tough man cries when he hears some of the stories of how people in places of responsibility are actually mismanaging every effort, every opportunity they are given. So it is not only about the talk, but what is it we can do more than that by organizing ourselves properly? And the youths, whether we like it or not, we are going to take the future. You understand? Are we going to sit back and watch and only be waiting to occupy spaces, or we actually want to turn over a new page and make sure that something else is done? You understand? And that is when I think that the true change will be brought to Africa. Nonetheless, let us still bear in mind that the gains made by the formation of the Organization of African Unity was a great stride. Of course, the expectation of Nkrumah might not have been met. And of course, today, it's obvious that the decision by the Casablanca group, the other groups to form blocks in the hope that gradually we will come into a common union might not have been the appropriate, strategy. Whilst Nkrumah was calling for an intercontinental government, a single monetary unit, an African military command, then, so that gradually we will learn how to govern the continent, and for the benefit of ordinary Africans. We may not have achieved that. Nonetheless, I think this day offers us an opportunity to reflect. If not, we will not have been sitting here.
Great. And
we still believe that African unity is a possibility, in spite of the many challenges, in spite of the fact that as we speak, South Sudan is still, going through so much turmoil. Sudan itself is also having challenges. You understand? And let's not forget that in all of this, there are many, many people who are looking up to all and everyone who has gotten something to offer to put it on board. You understand? But how are we going to do it? And for me, I can tell you very clearly that unless we ask ourselves the important questions, what do we want to do? How do we want to do it? Because the how is what brings about the problem. And unfortunately, the issue of privatization, the issue of globalization and all of it is what has engulfed Africa today. All manner of initiatives are just being dumped on the continent by the World Bank, by the European Union. How can it be that 53 years after, 54 years after the OAU was established, today, Ghana has signed an economic partnership agreement with the European Union. And this will give them the right for European carpenters to come and take over carpentry work for school children. European barbers, hair barbers can come to Africa or Ghana and come and also set up shops for barbering. They can go to our ministries and bid for contract just like any contractor here can do.
Really? What
still
happens to our GIPC
exactly.
Act?
How can these things keep happening?
Because it spells out some of the things foreigners cannot do in
so
this
these
country.
are questions we should be asking ourselves on this day.
Right. Fidel, George, please, I'll come to you shortly. I don't know whether you have something to add.
Yeah,
to
just something. He
Okay,
nearly caused me to cry, but I don't want to get there.
Please
I
don't
thought
get
I was
emotional.
on radio, but you see, reflection is a problem, and I want to agree with him. There are some young people, you know, he talked about some young people who have tried. Take His Excellency for Nyasembe. He was a young guy when he became president. President Kabila of DRC, a young guy. But those people, the question, how did they get there? That's the question. They were put in there by the very enemies of Africa to use them to loot. So I think as young people, when we are reflecting, we should have it at the back of our minds that within us, there will be enemies who will want us to go back. So we shouldn't think that there is that unity or there can ever be that unity. That's just what I wanted to add
to buttress his points. Fidel, let's look at the central importance of this whole demographic dividends to Africa's development agenda, or the transformative development that we want. What is the importance of this demographic dividend to Africa's transformative development?
One thing is that there are many states in Europe as of now that they feel that their fertility rate is going down, in that people are not giving birth to more youth, more children, so that in the long term, the prospects are bad for them, like Russia and other states. But in Africa, the fertility is very high, and the death rate is also going down, which means that we are going to have teeming youth. It means that there's going to be huge markets. You understand? Yeah. So that if my brother here is going to be an entrepreneur, he will have enough market around himself to actually make it. That is one thing. But Becky, in all this demography, it's also very relative. That you go to Nigeria, it has the largest population. From there, you go to Ethiopia, then Egypt, South Africa, and DR Congo, these countries. Now, if you go to Europe, Western Europe, or the European Union, you know that these states with a huge population, like Germany, France, Italy, and before recently, UK, where the people were pulling the others along. You understand? Yeah. In every union, you wouldn't have equality. There's equity, but not equality. So those with enough resources and the population pull the smaller ones along. But in Africa, it is the
other way around.
Because Ghana has more credibility than Nigeria now. It's very important. And people can dispute, but that is it. That there are certain things when Nigeria is going to do and Ghana doesn't back it, they will just back out. Because of the credibility that Ghana has. It should not necessarily be so. That if DR Congo, with its huge population, is not a state that can be identified or that has lost self-identity, then it means that we are in trouble. Look at South Africa. The kind of things that are happening, that with its huge economy, South Africa is not the country that we expect it to be. Go to Egypt. What is happening? Dictatorship, raw dictatorship. And as of now, the youth in Egypt are quiet because there are a lot of guns around. That's why they are quiet. It's not that there is peace there. So these are the states that are supposed to be pulling the rest along. But these states within themselves are in serious trouble. The youth in these states are more hopeless than even the smaller states. Whenever we are mentioning the good examples, we mention Botswana. How many people are in Botswana? Yeah, about 5 million. We mentioned Seychelles Islands. How many people are there? Cape Verde. You understand? If you put all Cape Verde, Seychelles Islands, Botswana, if you put all their population together, Swaziland, their population together, Swaziland is not even a good example. If you put their population together, they don't get up to Ghana. Their population is not even up to Ghana. So when I mention good examples and we are mentioning states with that small populations, it's funny. The huge ones are supposed to pull us along, but the huge ones are disaster, all of them. Nigeria is a disaster. Corruption is a bastion for corruption. Nothing happens in Nigeria. And you know, sometimes I pity President Buhari. He has good intentions, but the system is not favoring, overwhelming. This is a state that has survived based on corruption. If immediately you try to put a stop, there's going to be a backlash. People just sit idle and watch you. And you cannot do the job alone. Just like DR Congo. The whole of the territory, look, if you want to be powerful in DR Congo, one of my lecturers told me, get an airplane and a satellite phone and run and find some, fly over and find some resource, cobalt or any of the rare metals, and then you are the warlord, and then you control things. South Africa, disaster. The mention of Malema means that the country itself we see South Africa as a very nice country, and one thing is that they don't impress me at all as a state. South Africa doesn't impress me at all, because we expected South Africa to be an example, economic example to look at. But look at the people. This is a country that when people are going on demonstration, they are shot.
How?
I am proud of Ghana. You didn't see that in Ghana.
And I am proud of Ghana too. Yeah.
Ethiopia.
Yeah, Fidel, I'll come back so that you have. Yeah. You know, George, you spoke about the youth going out and all of that. Let's say, for instance, Ghana, going out of Africa in search of jobs and all of that. They contribute to those economies. But the other way around, they come to loot our resources and all of that. I'll come back and I want to find out from you what the push factors are. So it is still the Reporters Roundtable. You can join us, get interactive with us on 02444-75422. Send me your text. Send me your WhatsApp message. I'm willing to read it right here on SED. We are back after this breather. Please don't go away. We'll be back shortly.
The Reporters Roundtable has come at the time that it should. It's a very important program. We are now going to educate the public about our practice and hopefully inform them about the work we do and how we do it. Keep watching Reporters Roundtable.
Presenters Fabric for the Reporters Roundtable is sponsored by ATL. ATL, bringing fabrics to life. More information is online at www.akasombotextiles.com.
Well, welcome back to the program, and we are looking at Africa's transformative development, and particularly we are focusing on investing in the youth as marching towards Africa's prosperous future, as we all want it to be. And Fidel, please conclude on your
So, Becky, the interesting thing is that DR Congo, if the whole Africa was a desert and we didn't have any other resources, and DR Congo was the only place that resources are deposited, we could have all survived on what is in DR Congo now. But what is happening? We have disaster. And that goes with the youth. President Joseph Kabila is in charge. He's supposed to be a youth. But
so we have to be setting good examples.
How did he get there? He was a heir apparent. His father just died and they placed him there. And perhaps perpetuating what the imperialists really want to perpetuate. So, Becky, I would say that one, actually, those who are supposed to be leaders are not taking up the leadership role to pull the other ones along. And two, even where the youths have the intention to survive and to make it, the system is such that it is there to serve the purpose of the imperialists and not we Africans. Yeah, that is what we have to say.
You know, Duke you've made a very important point, and Duke also alluded to the same fact that as young people, when we are given leadership positions, we should be the change makers. We want a change, but yet we get submerged in the whole system. And you talk of systems. The systems are not favoring us. But how do we set an example? When we have been given that nod, how do we serve an example? Let me give that to Duke. And how do we become an example to others that, look, this is the change we want, and we'll live by the change that we are looking forward to seeing, not just us, but to affect the people around us, to affect the youth around us positively, so that we get to the top where we want in Africa to be, the Africa we want it to be. Okay.
I was talking to Mr. Kwesi Pratt recently. And he told me that before you attempt to change the world, you have to conquer yourself. You have to change yourself. Okay. You have to read more to understand the conditions in which you live and understand the conditions under which the people around you also live. And it's only when you have done this that you can make a forward march. You understand? Else, we are going to have a situation in which young people are only going to decide that in order for development to occur, it is fine if I set up a company and it's so easy to set up a company in Ghana, then import tomato paste from Germany or import something else and sell and make money. And that youth may not think about organizing society, about bringing people together, you understand, towards creating that paradigm shift we've been talking about all the time, towards organizing to ensure that gradually we lose or we move away from the situation where all the time policy that are implemented in Africa are only brought to us by our benefactors, by our so-called donors. You understand? What is it that we can do here by ourselves, organize ourselves properly? And anytime you raise this issue, they are very uncomfortable. They don't want it. Oh, let's form an organization to advocate for this. Oh, that is a very difficult job. Let's go for the easy one. And the easy one is what has led us here. Now, you earlier raised the issue about harnessing demographic dividends for development and all of that. Yeah. And this thing is being pushed very vehemently by some so-called groups in Europe, sometimes from the UN and itself. And when they say this, you know what they are trying to say? The idea is that Africa's population is growing. Families are having too many newborn babies. So what is it we can do to encourage them to limit the number of children they are making, so that the infrastructure in Africa, so that the schools will be enough for them. They are not thinking about adding more schools. They are not thinking about giving us more hospitals. What they think is the solution is that when you cut down the rate at which we are growing, then everything will be fine. How can we develop in Africa with this mentality? Meanwhile, as Fidel said earlier, when you have more people, you have market. You understand? And when you're able to create the necessary industrial base, that is development, gradually. You understand? But we don't want any of these. And then they come and tell you that, oh, family planning is very good, let us go for it and all of it. Look, what is the population of Ghana compared to United States? Or the whole of Africa compared to the United States and China and elsewhere? And why is it that when it comes to Africa, we have been told that this is not good, this, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this? And why is it that up until today, this story has still been the pattern? What justification can there be for the reason why, as of now, intercontinental trade in Africa is still taking place on single, as individual countries going to negotiate with European Union? And these things are what is killing us. When anytime you talk about this, then they become framing you and tagging you. You are a communist, you are a socialist, you are this. But these are the things, if you fail to do, the problems will still exist. 54 years, look, it is so sad that sometimes you walk by the Kwame Nkrumah circle. You know the road which leads from Mojabi Adum heading towards Iran Clinic? Yeah. Just look on your right, and you are going to see youths, very young women with babies at their back, young men sleeping rough by the street side. I mean, what justification can there be for this? And all these visitors come here, they are the ones who come and advise us, and they go around to chill. They like chilling a lot. When they come from their World Bank, IMF meetings, they go around to chill and they see the conditions. What do they do about it? They still keep us, and our leaders also keep accepting it. So the youths have gotten a lot of work to do. I don't believe that we are having too many children. It is not true. You understand? It is possible for one family to have 4 children and still live very well. We can do it. We can do it when we harness our resources properly. Okay. And that this situation where over the past 4 years, one company which is located in the United States, Colorado, has been able to siphon out of our country $8 billion. This is money which can do a lot for our country. One village, one dam. Why can't we do it? Why can't we pay our nurses if this money is staying in our country? And we come and complain year after year, nothing is taking place. We need a new situation. We need a radical change. And if we don't do this, nothing will happen. That is the story. That is the situation. Right.
Josh, let's talk about the issue you raised earlier. Yes. What may be the push factors that compel most youth to travel outside, looking for non-existent jobs?
My brother, communists and socialists are not terrorist organizations.
They are not terrorist.
So if they tag you, it's okay. I mean, it's normal. But you see, the push factors. Let me give you a typical example. That will give you a fair idea. A public university in Ghana, the University of Cape Coast, decides to suspend 22 students. Alumni move to court. The court rules, reverse the decision, make sure they write the semester exams. Then the state radio will call the public relations director of the university. Then he comes out to say, is it the court that is going to set the questions? Is it the court that is going to mark the scripts? And is it the court that is going to issue certificates? Now, this gives you an idea that if there is an intention to victimize you, even in a country where there's rule of law, they will still succeed. And so if you are a young person and you find yourself under the circumstance, what do? You might want to go outside and school. Talk to young people who school in Africa. I mean, I'm sure most of us have traveled outside, attended courses elsewhere. It isn't that they are better than us, but the frustration that your own people will make you go through will compel you to want to go out, school, and come back. African peer review mechanism. We've suddenly forgotten about it. When His Excellency Abdoulaye Wade, Thabo Mbeki, I think Gaddafi was one, and our own John Kufuor supported that idea very well. Basically, it wanted to champion a new course, probably to get to the very beginning, what our forebears intended. Where did it end? The very person who began the course, Abdoulaye Wade, when he was about exiting, he began criticizing it. When Gaddafi didn't get the monopoly to direct the course in the way he wanted it, what happened? So if you're a young person and you see your leaders coming out with this very brilliant idea, it will succeed. If it does, it will change the fortunes of the young people and the continent. And the very people begin to tear it apart. Where is the hope for you as a young person? When you find yourself under that, what do? You are likely to go outside. My brother made a very important point. We are signing economic partnership agreement. For God's sake. Our leaders are learned people. They know. Some of them have been lecturers. They've taught against these things. Give them power. What will make Ghana think that even if the Western countries will have 2% access to your market and you 80%, you can make any change? In any case, what do you produce here to compete there? So you go and sign these treaties, open your market to them, they come in here, they flood all our market. I mean, if we will be fair to ourselves, go to our individual rooms, ask yourself, you are watching me, ask yourself the things in your room, what percentage of that comes from Ghana, made in Ghana? They were all imported, or you bought it as somebody who imported into the country. So how do we...
Sometimes a second-hand good.
Second-hand good folks. And the name even is pity. Brony Wawu. They say the white man died and you are buying it. Where is the hope then for us? You see the structural impediment. So when you have all these things, you ask, wow, so how do I succeed? I want to be a carpenter. President Akufo-Addo says we should begin doing things differently. Yes, I want to be a carpenter. But Parliament of Ghana is going to China to buy furniture. When we have timber in Ghana, we have Wawa in Ghana, Oduma and all those trees. So the legislative arm of government cannot even have that trust for the system. Then they go out and tell you, made in Ghana good, and the television cameras and radio channel go, yeah, man, so and so says this. Those are the hypocritical things going on, making people who think that no, the system here might not be the best way, so I have to go outside. He mentioned Kwesi Pratt. When I was in GIJ 2005, my first assignment, one was to go and interview prostitutes in town. The second was to go and interview a serious man of God. Then I had access to the Metropolitan Archbishop of Accra, Palmer Bakel, his grace. After the interview, one point came out. He said, my son, if you want to effect a change, target a position. Wow. I have been thinking about it. So today, regardless of the brilliant ideas you have, if you don't have access to power, you cannot. But ask yourself, in Africa, how do you get access to the power? How many young people with good intentions can get in there? Who are the people who sponsor them to get there? What are the ideologies of those people? What do they stand for? You don't. Then the second interview prostitute. We went to East Legon, we were 3. We met a young lady, we were talking. He said she comes from Nigeria. And that Ghana was okay. She went to Benin. And that Benin, you can't even do prostitution.
Wow.
Because you are not a Beninois. They will sack you. So I then asked myself, so of course that's not a good trade, but morally. But why can't a Nigerian move to Benin
but
and
can
do
move to
whatever
Ghana?
He or she wants to do? Ghana might be okay, but is that enough? So we cannot even trade amongst ourselves. We cannot, like he said, we can't go to a
How do you link this kind of trade to?
Well, that is it's an economic venture.
Anyway.
I mean, if you want to go that way. But
Okay.
we are not dealing with morals here. But the point I'm making is that if Africans do not trust ourselves, how then do we move? In Kenya, they import a lot from Tanzania. But when Kenya government went there to do business, the opposition began criticizing the president. Why do you go there? Why will he criticize?
Okay, yeah, you want to
very
buttress it,
little
yeah,
point.
okay.
You see, I think what we must all understand is that our problems will continue to exist if we still have the same solutions to them being bandied about. Nothing is going to change. So very, very quickly, let me say that we all have to start thinking very, 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 in very creative ways. The youths especially. Let's come together into small associations, small organizations. And instead of spending our time to be talking about Manchester United and Chelsea, it is all good. But let's also think about our country small. If the enthusiasm with which we follow soccer, international soccer, we could do so with discussion, we could do a lot. And he mentioned the Archbishop. And I think that I also listened to him very, very clearly recently. This must be about a week ago, or if not a few weeks ago. And then he makes some very, very moving and inspiring comments. And he is so disturbed about the fact that so much of the Ghanaian people, of African people, have still not found their foot. He is so disturbed when he sees there's so many people who have lost their homes out of war. He is still very disturbed about famine in Africa. And I think that all of these issues are matters which must occupy ourselves, our time, our effort in discussing them critically. And also, we should never lose sight of the fact that the solution to them must not be left for a few others to decide for us. We must be very interested in the solution. Because very often, when it comes to talking about the issues, every Ghanaian knows what the problems are. I'll be very surprised if you go on the street today, you talk to the banana seller, you talk to just anybody, they will tell you things you don't even know about.
Wouldn't you say that, with African youth, we are particularly much about what the economy can offer us and not what we are doing for the economy or our country?
It's because of the so many years of how we have organized our society. You understand? When we say democracy, in Ghana, democracy, in Africa, democracy means something very different. But democracy must be about the participation of people in the process of government. You understand? People must have the right to decide that, look, my MP, when you go to parliament today on this issue, this is what you must say. But how many of our parliamentarians actually even come and even hold town hall meetings with us to tell us what is happening over there? For 4 years, we leave our destinies into their hands and we don't know what is happening. And day in, day out, they sign all manner of deals. They sign all manner of agreements who does not ignore to our benefit. Meanwhile, every 4 years, limbs are lost in campaigning. People fight each other and all of it. What do we gain out of this democracy? So we must be interested in what is happening in our government.
Great. Fidel, let's talk about how we can attract the youth in the diaspora to come home and contribute to the continent's success.
When the economic crunch took place in 2007-2008, we saw that there was this exodization of Africans, people trying to come back home. And they said that, look, Africa is the new frontier, so they are coming back home to stay. Immediately, the system started recovering. They started going back. Because when they came back, there was nothing to write home about. So they went back. But you see, Becky, we've spoken a lot about the problems. What are the solutions? There's something called import substitution industrialization. Import substitution industrialization. This is where you are importing goods you may even have comparative advantage in producing. Toothpick, matches, safety pins, and other very things that people will tell that class 1 student in China will be producing. We are importing. So you spend your time sitting down to see that, look, all these goods, we are going to cut them. Place quota on them on the amount of which, because as at the time you are building your industries, you don't have to stop importation, but you have to reduce it with time. As you are increasing your production, you will be reducing the importation so that there will not be scarcity in the system. So when you do this, it's going to create a lot of jobs for people. Now, when you have the jobs, then there's something called purchasing power. Okay. People are now going to get the purchasing power to survive in the system. And that purchasing power, what it's going to do is that it's now going to help in agriculture. That, Becky, if you are taking good salary, you are going to buy food, enough food to eat. And that is going to help the rural folks who are going to produce. But if people do not have jobs, tomatoes will keep getting rotten, onions will keep getting rotten, orange will keep getting rotten. But when you have these industries, it is going to help you to employ more youth who are going to have enough purchasing power to also help agrarian communities to also develop. Again, about issues of the basic needs, health, accommodation, and things like that. In Africa, when they are talking about affordable accommodation, then it means that maybe you are going to put some plywood together. That is affordable. But if it is a structure that is going to be placed, affordability is just a word because you can't afford. We have to have a plan. Using materials that we can use ourselves to build structures. For instance, Becky, I think that if you are in GBC, you should have an accommodation. You shouldn't be renting. If my brother here is working somewhere, he should be able to use whatever he is earning to pay mortgage in order to earn a living. Get some shelter to live in. You understand? We have to look at all this. Then when the youth find themselves in that, then mentally, psychologically, they will now think what I can do for my country. Because then they are stable. But Becky, when you are patching, how do you think? When you are not living in a very conducive environment or an environment that will make you think, how would you? Because first of all, you are looking at the basic needs before you can think about creating something like Facebook. But if Zuckerberg was a homeless person, I don't think he would create Facebook. He was in Harvard. And then he sat down and said, look, let's do this. And then with friends, he was able to do it.
The irony is that when they get that life of comfort, they forget about the rest of the things.
No, that is the problem.
So I think that, my brother, rather, as part of the solution of wanting to get all of us live in very comfortable
the comfortable thing.
It will also depend on we starting the job from now. Don't wait and live in very posh houses and having so much yourself. Then
it's not about solutions. It's about basic needs. Having a place to sleep is not. It's not a luxury.
No doubt.
You understand? Having a place to sleep is not a luxury. But we have youth who are homeless in this country. People come to Accra. Do you think they all have homes to sleep?
No.
Or they all have places that they can lay? You see, one thing is that, look, education. Let's even talk about education. Some of us are privileged to come and sit here and speak good English or whatever. But how many people get that opportunity? No, it is very important. You see, we must make sure that the youth have all this opportunity. We are talking about free education, but then from now, every now and then, they come out to tell us different versions of the free education. These are things that we should concern about. Because if the person is not educated, how does the person even reason? How does the person know that, look, I'm in a place called African Union, and this is what I can do to effect change? You understand? So I think that the basic needs, we must get the basic needs first.
For any other thing to
if you don't have any education, Becky, you cannot do anything better.
I know George and Duke has started reacting already. I know George will want to say something, but let me announce our phone lines. If you can join us on the phone lines, 0501 552 729. Our phone line 0501 552 729. Please, you can call into the program, but let's go by the rules. You lower the volume on your set so that we can have a fruitful discourse. Please let the language also be civil. You go straight to the point so that we can all talk. How can we, what kind of Africa do you want to see? How do we invest in our youth? What are you expecting our youth to also give back to the continent so that we can all have that Africa that we are all desiring. But George, you wanted to say something.
You asked him how we can get Africans in the diaspora to come. And the question was, come and do what?
Contribute to the continent's success.
Those here are looking for every available opportunity to go out.
So what can we tell the people who would want to go looking for non-existing jobs and those outside who want to come and invest in the continent so that other unemployed youth in Africa, or let's say particularly Ghana, would have something doing?
I think it is about emancipation, the mental one, from the political leaders. When they are emancipated mentally, then the society will be conducive for the people outside to want to come in. Becky, does it make sense to you that in a country we sit down and organize BECE for children at that level? When they fail, it truncates their education?
Wow, we have Abdul from Newtown. Hello, Abdul.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, sir. Good morning. You're live on the Reporters Roundtable. We are looking at investing in the youth.
Yeah.
Could you please lower the volume on your sets? It's giving us a feedback, please.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I'm happy holiday to you all. I say happy holiday to you all.
Hello, please. Yeah, we
thank
can.
you.
I said happy holiday to you all.
Thank you. Same to you.
returns.
We can hear.
Happy African Union Day.
People, I think I've gone to retirement just 1 month ago, and I've seen that things are not equal to our democracy. If we say democracy, I and my brother say that democracy, people don't understand the democracy. It's true, because people are not doing things equally. Things are happening in this country which we don't mind and we don't care. And it's very bad. It's very bad. We should put our elbows and everything together so that we can do things all together and make it nicely. This calamity problem, nothing is making to us.
So what can you? We are particularly looking at investing in the African youth.
African youth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yes.
what do you think can be
What I
done?
would say is about the African youth is what is happening now is the African youth now, children here, which we make African youth, it's not rare. It's not rare.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
So we want things to happen. African youth. Thank you very much. Thank you. African youth.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I was privileged to be with a former leader, president of the continent, and he was like a big man. A delegation from another country visited him, and they were like, "Oh, Your Excellency, why did you give up power so easily? The margin was that close." Then the former president said, "Oh, why not? The other party won the election." He said, do something now." The man said, "What?" It's a Nigerian. He said, "Approximation."
Which one is approximation?
This you approximate.
Okay.
So even though the other party had won, you should call it approximation. And then, so see, that is the mindset we have. We don't even allow the system to work. So when it is getting to election, even in Ghana, if you want to follow the radio and you don't have the heart, you will not put in certain businesses in certain parts of the country. It is not in Ghana alone. Most African countries, this is the state that we want.
We have Thomas from Awoshi. Let's hear Thomas. Hello, Thomas. You're live on the Reporters Roundtable.
Yes. What I have to say is that there are a lot of things going on in this country, and it's kind of bringing the youth down morally and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to say that what we need to put into the African youth is a spirit of hard work and discipline. Okay. It's like there are a lot of things going on. People are not disciplined. They don't work hard. They think that you don't have to do anything, but you have to drive big cars and the rest. But that is not it. Everything has become like you don't do anything, but at the end of the day, you're supposed to read something. And so even when people are going to school, they are not learning, but they are trying to find the easy way out. And that is where we are now. Okay, so I believe there's some kind of hard work that we need to put in our youth and stuff like that. So that's my take on this. Like you all.
Right. Thank you very much, Thomas. George, yeah.
Again, the universities are just graduating students. I mean, students are completing. Yeah. Take the traditional universities and just get a fair idea of the number of products they are putting onto the job market. Can we absorb them and want those outside to come back and work where? Those here, we are not able to take care of them. We have qualified people in Ghana. We don't give them access to capital. How do you expect a young graduate to go and take loan from a state-funded bank like ADB or commercial bank at about 30% interest rate? 30%. Look at electricity price. And you expect that person to do serious business in Ghana?
But what other platforms can we establish to?
He's introducing the issue of the African in the diaspora and what role they can play in the development of Africa.
Yes.
And I think that we cannot right away, their contributions. They have done very, very important things. African people living in the diaspora have written so much to inform us of the problems that confront us. You look at someone.
We have someone from East Legon. Before you go on with your example you want to cite. Hello, Fred.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah.
To your panel, and I'm enjoying your program.
Thank you very much, and good to have you on the round table.
My problem now, the problem in Ghana is mainly the education system. I find it very difficult that people have to be at a very older age before they can have a profession to practice. Young people in this country who finished SS and they were able to go to university cannot do anything in this country. And if you want to change something, you have to change it from the kindergarten. Let the people be more patriotic, love the country we are in, and so that it can help the people. What did they teach us at school? Nothing. To make you more patriotic and love your country. When you go to other countries, even when they are doing if they are doing the worst thing, they still support their country. Americans, when you tell Americans that, even your country did something wrong, they kill people, they'll tell you, I'm proud and I'm American and we have the right to do that. We don't have that in the West. People get money and they only buy cars and houses. They don't even think of building factories to create jobs. Our rich people don't even donate to simple things. Ghanaians are so intelligent. In Africa, we've made our mark, we've made our name. But it feels that we are not able to turn things around. The intellectuals are not doing anything. It doesn't mean that one of your panel members said that education is the key. Yeah. Yes, of course, it's the key. There are also people who didn't go to school who are rich in this country, and they are able to manage big companies on their own. Because they've got some idea and the love to do something. Can the government just put some embargo or put some laws that things which you can produce here, nobody should buy it outside the country and bring it? And let's see what is going to happen. We've given all these foreigners the right to capture everything. Now in this country, if you want to buy a commodity, there are foreigners controlling every commodity in this country, as well as they are controlling our currency. They have houses, they build everything, and not doing anything. It says that Ghanaians are scared to be rich. If you are rich, you're a bad person. Even when they say people have stolen money, if they invested in this country, I don't have a problem.
Okay.
We should put more energy, more everything to empower the young people to love their country, get whatever they want. If you're a starter, you should be able to get a place to put your head. After all, after getting a house, get a place to put your head. Get a good job, which you can buy anything you want. What else do you need on earth? You don't need anything. You have peace, then you can think, as your colleague said, as your panel member said. If you have simple things, you can think and reason.
Great. So, Freddie, you are talking about empowering the African youth.
The African youth.
Yeah, okay. The point is well made. I hear there are other people on the line, so
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Fred, for calling into the program.
Very quickly. I don't see
so that we wrap up on this.
Development by killing. Why should I be happy because my country went to war and killed so many people? When maybe my country has not been offended in any way. How would a Libyan be happy today that foreign forces came and killed his parents, and today the Libya that we know of is no longer the Libya? A few years ago, Africans were clamoring to go to Libya because Libya was everything. You could find the best you want in Libya. Today, Libya is a war-torn country, divided among by rebel groups. And this was the making of this same thing of let's go and kill and be victorious. That thinking must come to an end. It must come to an end. We can't afford to go that way anymore.
I have Adams on the line. Hello, Adams.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, happy New Day to you.
The same to you.
Okay.
It doesn't reflect in our lives. We don't see any changes in the AU and what they stand for. Because today, most of our youth are unemployed. We have wasted lands. We have all kinds of potentials that have to be tapped and nurtured and become useful to society and the nation as a whole. Imagine tertiary institutions like the Agreg. What do they do to reflect their constituencies and where they live, and the chiefs, traditional leaders and opinion leaders and stakeholders? What is their take on what the youth go to study and the benefits that it comes along? So we attend schools and we acquire educations without knowing where to arrive at, because there are many people who have talent, but who is to help them? Look at Christopher Safo. People believe he's an informal man, and yet he's able to come out with innovations. What do we do to emulate him, for him to impact on the youth, to know that it's not only when you acquire a higher education before you become anything higher like that, but if God has blessed you, you can acquire something. So we have to acknowledge talents that we have, local innovations, and our stakeholders have to now find ways and means as to how they will support those initiatives for them to become a reality to develop the nation. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, Adams, thank you so much. And that will be our last call for this particular segment. Let me take few messages here. This one says, let's take a cue from the United States. They were able to do it due to the fact that civilization was not at its peak. My name is Sian from Enibui. I don't know where that is. I don't know where that is. This one says, I am Ibrahim from Ashama. I am actually in love with the discussion on board today. I happen to read a lot, but I realize is that with the development of Africa at hand, it's an easy task, but what actually is holding us back is not our own people, but the Western world. If we get together, the Western world will have nothing to gain from us, and for that matter, they are working against us. Please tell Mr. Duke I want to work with him. Hey.
Very Ibrahim, much
yeah.
We are starting an organization from today.
Okay, right. So let me get your final take.
The last caller made a very brilliant submission. But
just in a second.
The difficulty I have is go to the universities, the vice chancellors, the ministers, the big men in our society who tell us to go and look for our own jobs. When their sons and daughters complete school, they push them to the Cocoa Boss, the Bank of Ghana and the others. How then do you convince the poor man's son from Yapimison that when you finish, go and start your own business when there is no electricity in Yapimison? So you see, we have to be serious about ourselves, and for the AU, I think if we want to move ahead, we should go back to the core principles. If there's problem in an African country, like Libya suffered it, the AU was quiet. So where is the AU to fight for?
Good. If you don't, quickly.
So what I would say is that as a continent, we must know that uniting will help us rather than just staying individually. We will have collective bargaining. We can go to international fora and have qualitative bargaining to benefit the people. Yeah, that is what.
Okay, and you, Duke?
Oh, I think we have said everything. The only one thing must be emphasized or stressed, And I think that that is that African people must feel proud of themselves belonging to this part of our continent. On African Union Day, I want to congratulate, all the hardworking people in our trade unions, all the hardworking people in various spheres of our society, the nurses, the doctors, from all over Africa, who are working to make sure that Africa is given a certain identity. And I believe very strongly that if we continue at this pace, if we continue thinking critically about what can be done, with all of our good intention, with all of the prayers we are having and everything, it should be possible for Africa to stand on its feet. Because we have nothing in Africa. And Africa, no doubt, no size, it is the biggest continent so far with so much resources. Let's begin to harness it to our benefit. Enough of the looting. So much has gone. Let's now think about our country and our continent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Duke. This one says we have a lot of problems in Africa. There is no future for the youth in Africa. Majority of our African youth are second-hand Americans or Europeans. Our educational setup is such that they are trained to become refined Europeans than being themselves. There is no proper education in Africa. Chew, poor, and pass and graduate. Getting rich fast has become the syndrome, and a host of other abominable social vices. There must be reintroduction of young pioneers as Nkrumah did during his time. Africa is 1,000 years behind Europeans and Americans. All right, and I would want to take the final one from one person who actually reports consistently on the sub-region, and he is in the person of Emmanuel K. Bensa Jr. And Emmanuel K. Bensa Jr. sent me something here, and I think as the time goes on, I will want to read it, but I have been in here with Duke Tego, who is with the Insight newspaper. Fidel Amache is an international relations analyst, and George Asekri is with Radio Ghana and the host of Worldview on GBC24. My name is Rebecca Ewa, and when we come back, I don't know whether you've heard about the economic and crime office, what is it, EOCO? Organized. Oh, I don't know why I'm forgetting. Economic and Organized Crime Office. If you know about EOCO, I don't know what you think about that institution. We'll talk about EOCO very soon. Stay with us. We'll be back.
If you want to understand what journalism is all about, watch Reporters Roundtable, because here we criticize ourselves, we learn from one another, and try to put our profession on track.
Reporters Roundtable is a platform for journalists to express their views on topical issues objectively. This and every Thursday, you don't want to miss it.
All right, everyone, welcome back. It's the chat on the Reporters Roundtable, and before we went on the break, we were touching on Africa's transformative development and investing in the African youth, and I promised that I'll give you a quote that was sent to me by Emmanuel K. Bensa Jr., who consistently, he's a journalist who reports on the sub-region, and it says the youth must drop the sense of entitlement some carry around and envision a future where they are at the center of decision-making that includes them in every possible nook and cranny of Africa's integration, be it regional or continental. They must pay as much attention to Africa's integration as they do to Premier League football. Their knowledge of the Africa must be commensurate with the encyclopedic knowledge they possess of the league. And this one is from Emmanuel K. Bensa Jr. He is a Ghanaian journalist who reports on the sub-region. And in here I have Mrs. Jacqueline Avotri. She is the head of public education at EOCO, and she is also a lawyer by profession, and she is with us on the chat today. Let's talk about EOCO. Would you say that EOCO is purposely set up to frustrate hardworking businessmen, people in Ghana, businessmen in Ghana, women and all of that, and public service office holders?
Not at all. The Economic and Organized Crime Office was set up by the Economic and Organized Crime Office Act 2010, Act 804. The EOCO is a specialized agency to monitor and investigate economic and organized crime, and on the authority of the Attorney General, prosecute these offenses and also to recover the proceeds of crime.
So how is the mandate of EOCO different from that of the Serious Fraud Office?
The EOCO Act repealed the Serious Fraud Office Act 1993, Act 466. EOCO just extended the functions of the Serious Fraud Office. For instance, under the Serious Fraud Office Act, when an account was frozen, you have only 7 days within which to go to court to confirm the freezing of such an account. However, under Act 804, which is the Economic and Organized Crime Office Act, you have 14 days within which to go to court to confirm the freezing of accounts. Again, the Serious Fraud Office Act related to offenses that involves the state, like people commit offenses against the state. However, Act 804, that is the EOCO Act, extends the functions of the office now to also investigate cases in which the states have interest, and also investigate both private and public institutions.
So what happens to the issues you investigate? Do you have a prosecutorial mandate?
Thank you very much for the question. The Economic and Organized Crime Office is under the Attorney General's department. So when we investigate our cases, our dockets are forwarded to the Attorney General's office for prosecution. So it's the Attorney General that prosecutes cases that we investigate. Upon finishing our cases, we build our dockets and forward same to the Attorney General's department.
Right, so once the Attorney General, let's say that if the person is not prosecuted and you as an institution, if you facilitate in confiscating the proceeds from those crimes, what exactly do you do with it?
Thank you very much. The office has the power to investigate cases and also go to court on civil matters. So when it comes to confiscation of properties, when it comes to freezing of accounts, when it comes to seizure of property, the office is able to initiate those civil actions because the process is the executive director versus the person. So the office has the power to go to court on civil matters. However, when they are criminal in nature, it is the Attorney General that prosecutes those cases on our behalf.
Right. I did a little research, and on your website, I got this information, and if I'm permitted to read it, you have as part of your functions financial or economic loss to the Republic or any state entity or institution in which the state has financial interest. Number 2 is that money laundering. Number 3 is human trafficking. Number 4 is prohibited cyber activity and tax fraud and other serious offenses to recover the proceeds of crime, monitor activities connected with such offenses. My question is that, why do you focus so much on the first and the last at the detriment of the other functions? The first one is financial or economic loss to the Republic or the state, and the last one talks about serious offenses to recover proceeds from crime. But in here you have money laundering, you have human trafficking, you have prohibited cyber activity, you have tax fraud. So why the concentration on the two? Because anytime we hear about EOCO, it is that they have gone to pick up somebody because the state is losing something, the person had involved in a corrupt practice or something. Why have you left the 3 in the middle?
We've not left the 3. We investigate cases bordering on money laundering, human trafficking, prohibited cyber activity, tax fraud. We investigate all the functions as listed under Section 3 of Act 804. We investigate all kinds of cases. It's not only cases that leads to financial or economic loss to the state. We have quite a number of dockets that cases that we've investigated, and dockets built and forwarded to the Attorney General's department on money laundering. We have successful prosecution cases that we've prosecuted in courts, and persons are serving jail terms because they were involved in money laundering. Money laundering investigations are always done, and it follows with a predicate offense. Normally, when a person can be charged with money laundering, when the person has committed a predicate offense, such as forgery, stealing, falsification of accounts. So once you investigate the person for any of these offenses, you also charge the person with the offense of money laundering. We investigate human trafficking cases. We've done a recent exercise where we have facilitated in arresting some persons who were being trafficked, and the perpetrators have been handed to the CID section, which handles human trafficking. We've investigated quite a number of cases on prohibited cyber activities. We do quite a number of things. All the functions as listed under Section 3 of our Acts, we investigate cases bordering on all those things.
Okay, but let's also shift to the spate of sophisticated criminal activities emanating from the advancement in technology and globalization. What has been EOCO's response in all of these matters?
The functions as listed under 804, we don't want persons to benefit from their illegally gotten wealth. So we are going after properties that people have acquired as a result of crimes that they have committed. So apart from the person serving the term, whatever property the person acquired as a result of the offense, we'll go after the property as well. So for confiscation is one of the main things that we are doing, so that the person cannot come back and enjoy the property that he or she has acquired as a result of committing an offense.
Okay, so that was the gap that EOCO filled as far as the serious fraud office thing was concerned. Because are you saying with a serious fraud office mandate, that time, then people can actually go to prison, come back and enjoy their wealth?
Not at all. The Serious Fraud Office Act 466 also had a section where properties could be confiscated to the state. So it was also in the Serious Fraud Office Act as well as the EOCO Act. So property can be confiscated both under those acts. However, the Serious Fraud Office Act has been repealed, and we now have the EOCO Act.
Okay, but what reasonable measures can one take to prevent the commission of such acts? Because I know you are not just there to prosecute people, to arrest and all of that. There are preventive measures and all of that.
Yes, one of our functions is also to monitor economic and organized crime. So we do quite a number of intelligence. We picked on intelligence from the newspaper. When there's an incident that is occurring frequently, we also come up to educate persons as to be on the watch out. For instance, people are being duped through the mobile phone, the era of mobile phone money transfer, the microfinance companies coming up who are not licensed to take deposits, and people are falling victims to it. So we do all those things. We educate the public. We come out once a while to let people know some of the things that they have to watch out and not fall victims to it.
Who are the category of people that gives you these tip-offs when it comes to intelligence gathering?
We have informants. We pick intelligence from the newspaper. We have people walking in to also report purported crimes. So we deal with all category of persons, the general public.
Talk of the general public, and it leads me to my next question. Upon research, I realized that the number of stakeholders you have the BNI, you have this, you have the police, and the general public is at the bottom of the list. If you are working for the people and you are gathering information, intelligence from the people, why would you have the public at the bottom of your list if you are working really for us, and not the BNI, and not for the police, and not for all the security groups that you have listed there?
The office doesn't work in isolation. We work with other law enforcement agencies. The listing of our stakeholders is not in any particular form. So even though the general public may be at the bottom, it doesn't mean that it is least considered, because you work with the public. You need intelligence to do your work. So the general public is considered as one of our critical stakeholders, which we don't joke with at all, because it's very critical to have very good working relations with persons that give you information. So it is not in any particular order.
I know people might have questions for you. We'll open the phone lines for 5 minutes, and we'll see if we can get some questions for you, because there's this whole myth around EOCO. Anytime we hear about EOCO, it's just that they are picking on somebody and all of that, and people think it's real witch hunting that you are doing. You are working for the political elite and not for yourself. So we'll open the phone line 0501 552 729 0501 552 729. Please, if you have any questions, if you have any myths surrounding EOCO and their work, the lawyer is here, the head of public education is here, Mrs. Jacqueline Avotri is here, so you can channel your questions, and you can also send me the WhatsApp or your text on 02444 75422. Please don't call that line. We have a phone line displayed on your screen. Just go by the rules, lower the volume on your set, and let's talk, please. Okay, my regular caller is on the line. Adams, hello. What question do you have for Mrs. Avotri?
Yes, I want to ask her that what level of sophistication have they to ensure that censorship is very effective to be able to monitor the activities of some of these people, like money laundering and even the cyber crime? And they say that they come to educate the masses, but I've been Nima here, and I'm in the market. I don't recollect the day that there have been any gathering or platform to educate people on some of these microfinance activities, because most of our people here are victims of them. So I want to find out.
Okay, so thank you, Adam. See, he's talking about what you have done so far to track these cyber crimes. And again, you talk of education, that you've been educating people about your work and all of that. He is in Nima. He hasn't seen any forum where you are around to educate them. So, and he talk of the loans, savings and loans, tracking. You talk of mobile money and all of that. What response would you give to Adam?
Thank you very much. Adam should watch out for us. There are lots of programs that we are rolling up. A lot of people will hear about us. We've put our website address out.
Okay, so put it out.
Very well, very well. Our email address is EOCO.
Before you go on that, I have Shaibu in Dodowa. Let's take Shaibu. Hello, Shaibu. Then I'll give you the chance to put out your hotline and your website address. Hello, Shaibu.
Hello?
Yes, Shaibu, we are live on the Reporters Roundtable. We are on the chat segment now. Oh, unfortunately, please put out your hotline.
The hotline is 0302 634 363.
That again.
0302 634 363. Then our email address is eoco@eoco.org.gh, and our website is www.eoco.org.gh. To answer the first caller,
let me tie in another caller so that if he has a question, you answer it. Hello, Prince from La Paz.
Yes. Thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Prince. And how are you doing?
I'm not Prince, I'm Chris.
Oh, Chris, sorry about that.
Yes, I'm your mate in the go, by the way.
Okay.
Yes.
Good to hear from you.
I want to ask the communication woman there some questions.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, you see, oftentimes we hear about the organized crime office when there is change of power. But immediately, for instance, if this government is in power for at least 2 years or beyond, you will not hear anything about the organized crime people. But immediately there is change of power, you hear it again. Why is it that? Is it that they go to sleep when there is no change in power, or they work in the silence? And what always happens when there's change of power, they heighten their work.
Good. Thank you very much. Yeah, Chris. That's an interesting one. So please tie in that with the first question.
Very well. As we investigate our cases, our dockets are normally forwarded to the Attorney General's Department. And as part of policy making decisions, some of our recommendations are factored in when policies are being made. So even though the general public may not hear much from us, most of our recommendations are taken into consideration and factored in to change the way we do some of our things, especially with these microfinance companies that came up. Even though BNI investigated some companies, we played a very critical role in facilitating the investigations that they were commissioned to do. Okay. With this era of mobile money, where people are sending text messages to others and people are luring people to pay money into their accounts and other people access it, we are taking it up, and meetings will go on as to how best we can come out with regulations to also help streamline that market. We work all year round. We work
in silence or when there's a change of government?
Not at all. The institution is a specialized agency. We do quite a number of sensitive cases. So we work all year round. We've been in existence since 2010. However, SFO was also in existence for so many years. We've done quite a number of cases. So we don't work to please any government. We are public servants and we do our work. So it's not like you hear of us when there's a change in government. We work
all year round. Good. We have someone from Tema. Hello, sir. What's your name?
I'm Gato calling from Tema.
Good. Please. What question do you have or contribution?
My question for the spokesperson is they are not doing much on the education because most of the victims of those fraudsters are illiterate. How many illiterate can go on their website and check about their activities? So they should come down to the level of the ordinary Ghanaians and educate them much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The office is located in, we have regional offices in all our 10 regions. So we are everywhere. Okay. We are not only in Accra, we are in Kumasi, we are in the central region, we are everywhere. So people can call the hotline.
The hotline as being given to us is 0302 634 363. 0302 634 363. That is EOCO's hotline. Anytime if you have a tip of anything, they want to gather intelligence, so you can also call them on that hotline. But how do you hope to be an efficient and an effective organized crime agency that has an international repute?
Thank you very much. We hope to be a very vibrant office in investigating our cases properly.
Once you think about how you can get that international repute, I hear we have Koku from Sugakope, all the way from Sugakope. So let's take him. Hello, Koku.
Yeah, good afternoon, whatever.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah. This is in a form of a question, right? Yeah.
Koku, please lower the volume on your set. I guess you are hearing yourself, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so please lower it so that we can talk.
Is it okay now?
Yes, it's better. Please go ahead.
Okay. My problem is we have a guy who said he's working with EOCO, called about. He came to Sugakope, he'll be bullying people, having handcuffs. He have his cases at the Sugakope police station. I wanted to ask that is also part of the work of EOCO.
I would have preferred you never had mentioned the person's name. Because if you have, we could have even talked backstage, but please, you can ask your question without mentioning names, so we can talk backstage, and you can also, but once you have said it, let's go to the substantive. The question again, please.
The question is it the work for EOCO person to come to an area, just catch some people, arrest them with handcuffs, treat them, spread pepper spray on their faces, and then leave them just like that?
Okay, that will be answered. Thank you so much. Yes. Do you do that? Do you go to areas and arrest people, molest them and all of that?
We work within the law. We observe the human rights of persons. Even though we've been given some powers under Act 804, we also observe all the articles and sections in the 1992, the articles in the 1992 Constitution. So we observe the rights of persons during the course of our investigations. So if he has this information, just like you said,
he can call the hotline.
Yes, he can call the hotline and give the said information to us, and we'll investigate the matter, because our officers are supposed to work with some amount of dignity.
Good.
And also observe the rights of persons. In achieving our international reputation, we work with a lot of our international partners in investigating cases. We collaborate with a lot of our international agencies under the Mutual Legal Assistance Act, which helps us to also collaborate with other law enforcement agencies. So we are in the right direction, and we are achieving results in that area.
Right. So, Koko, if you are hearing us now, you can call the hotline 0302-634-363, and you can complain about what you spoke to, or you can give details about the things that you are talking about, which, of course, I know it's not everything that you might have said on air. So, please, the hotline again is 0302-634-363. Please do call that line. This one says, who appoints their head, the head of EOCO? Why are they always in bed with the government in power? Can they prosecute the government who appoints their head? Good English on the TV is not enough, madam. Your reputation is poorly damaged over the years by the way you have been in bed with the various governments in power. How do you respond to that? This one is from Black Shanti. Okay. Who appoints your head? And are you in bed with the government?
Under Act 804, as the government or the president.
I know that is a very tough one. I will pause here so that you relax. Let's take somebody on the line. We have somebody from Dansoman. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, sir. Your name?
Yeah, my name is Albert.
Albert, good to have you.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Let's hear you, Albert.
Yeah, Albert. Yeah, madam, I have this contribution. You know, it's in fact it's a commentary good for both programs, immediate past and this one. You know, we are talking about development of African youth and this organized crime and stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to know what do we do when, you know, currently in this incumbent government, when rots such as just malfeasance in the form of, arbitrary figures, economic indicators. Okay, what do we do to such officers? You know, for instance, from March to date, you know, there has been an appreciable increment in fuel price and there's price hikes, you know, commercial price hikes, right? And there's aggregate inflationary rise up, right? But then, where information we have currently, okay, is an egregious indication rather of depreciation, okay?
Okay, so what do we do to people who massage their figures? That is all you are trying to ask.
Yes.
Good.
How do we get such problem? Who are the officers responsible for arresting
such people? All right. Thank you very much, Albert.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I get what you mean. Okay, so
who are those in charge?
Yes.
For dealing with those who misperform or who misdo the economy? Okay.
Yeah, Albert, we've heard your question. It will be answered. Thank you so much. I think we will end with our phone-in segment on that one. Let's take Albert's question and the one we're talking about, who appoints your head and how come you are in bed with the government of the day.
Section 11(1) of Act 804 stipulates that the President shall, in accordance with Article 195 of the Constitution, appoints an executive director for the office. So it's the President who appoints the executive director of the office.
And are you in bed with the government of the day? Do you work to please the government of the day? Because here, Black Ashanti is saying that, look, can they prosecute the government who appoints their head? Can you?
We can.
Okay, and your reputation is poorly damaged over the years. Your reputation is poorly damaged over the years by the way you have been in bed with the various governments in power. How do you respond to that?
We've never been in bed with any governments. We are public servants, and we investigate our cases based on Act 804. It doesn't matter the political color. Offenses doesn't have political colors. If a person commits an offense, it doesn't matter the political party the person belongs to. Once an offense has been committed, we'll go into it and investigate the said person, prefer charges against the person, and go ahead and forward our docket to the Attorney General's Department for prosecution. So it doesn't matter the government of the day. We investigate our cases as the powers given unto us under Act 804. So we are not in bed with the governments of the day, even though the executive director is appointed by the government, by the president.
Constitutionally.
Constitutionally, there's a reason for that. It doesn't mean it will affect the work that the person is doing. If a person is in government and the person steals money or forges documents and benefits from the said act, the person will be investigated, prosecuted, assets traced, and confiscated to the state. So it doesn't matter the governments of the day. We'll go ahead and investigate the said person, and we'll take it up from there.
Okay, I hear we have more time, and we can't take a few calls, but this one says, my lovely daughter, I'm very proud of you. My contribution to your discussion on investing in the youth, I think yours is in reference to our first segment, towards a prosperous future, is that education must be intensified on Ghana and Africa so that they will be proud of Africa in general and Ghana in particular. And this one is from Madam Hajara in Sawem. Madam Hajara says, happy AU Day to you all. Thank you, Madam Hajara, and happy AU Day to you too. And we are here talking about EOCO and their mandates, their functions, what have you. And we've had very interesting contributions coming in. What do you know about EOCO? Do you know anything about them, or you only hear of them when there's corruption in the system and they go arresting people, and by the powers be, they prosecute such people? You can call us on 0501 552 729. The head of public education is here. Mrs. Jacqueline Avotri is here to answer all your questions. We are talking EOCO. So, what other things do you... Okay, before I come to that, I have Emmanuel in Medina. Hello, Emmanuel. Hello, Emmanuel.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. And
yes,
good to be on the Reporters Roundtable. You're live.
Yes.
Please, your contribution or suggestion or questions.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and on that note, Emmanuel went off. Okay, so what other things does EOCO do apart from finding people, investigating and prosecuting them for serious offenses?
I think basically our mandates, we are an investigative body. We're a specialized agency set up to investigate and monitor cases. So basically that is our mandate. We are an investigative agency. So that is why we were set up, to investigate economic and financial crimes that leads to loss to the Republic or any state that the government has an interest. So basically, that is why the EOCO was set up. So we are to monitor and also to investigate. And just like you said, money laundering cases, cyber activity, tax fraud is one of the critical areas that we look at in every investigations.
I hear we have somebody on the line. Hello, I have someone from Nima. Hello, sir. Okay, I lost him. Please go ahead.
So tax fraud is one of the areas that we are very interested in. People massaging their accounts to pay less taxes to the state. You know, the government wants to extend the tax bracket nets. Yes, you see, those of us in the public service, our taxes are taken at source. So we pay our taxes. But what about those who are in the private sector? small-scale persons, and a lot of people are not paying the appropriate taxes. So it's an area that we are really interested in, and in every investigations that we do, we look at those areas as well, collaborate with the GRA for persons to pay the appropriate taxes to the state.
Okay, Akwesi in Kumasi. Hello, Akwesi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Akwesi.
It's only today that I heard local is in Ghana. It's only today that I heard they work with people in Ghana. But all I know is parties. Let's take this one for example. Mahama Brothers case.
The recent case.
2 years. Why is local? So the MTP come before we hear about that case. So all I know, they work for the government, but they don't work for the individuals.
Thank you, Akwesi. This matter needs to be resolved. I didn't even know EOCO exists. But where do you want to take? How do you want to? What is the roadmap for your education so that people will get to know that look, the public is part and parcel of the kind of work we do? Because as I said myself, I only hear of EOCO when there's corruption in the system, going after political heads and all of that. What is the roadmap for your education, marketplace, or what are you going to do?
Very well. We are starting with the secondary schools. We are rolling out a program titled Cyber Crime Activities for secondary schools in the Greater Accra region. We have the list of the schools. We have permission from Director, Ghana Education Service, from the District Director, and we've selected the schools. We are starting, the first school is slated for June 8th, I think 8th June.
The caller I lost is back on the line from Adina. Let me take it. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sorry to have lost you.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome back to the program.
Yeah, thank you.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
The relationship between EOCO and the Ghana Police Service.
Okay. Relationship between EOCO and Ghana Police Service?
Yes, I mean the work they do. Exactly.
Yeah.
Then again, the second question is, it has to do with the issue of Ibrahim Mahama. I hear he issued various false checks to the tune of billions of cedis. I don't know if it's EOCO that worked on it or it's the Ghana Police that worked on it. But whichever institution worked on it, I want to know exactly what happened. But I expected EOCO to have worked on it. I don't know if this happened that EOCO worked on it.
Okay, your name, sir?
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, okay. Okay, so those two questions from Emmanuel for you. Relationship between EOCO and the Ghana Police and the Ibrahim Mahama case. Yes.
Very well.
Who is supposed to work on it? Is it the Ghana Police or EOCO?
We have very good working relations with the Ghana Police Service. The EOCO, as I've said, is a specialized agency. So that's the distinctive elements in there. It's a specialized agency to monitor and investigate economic and organized crimes. The Ghana Police also have a unit that investigates financial crimes. So we have very good collaboration with the Ghana Police Service. There's no duplication in here. We handle different cases. If a matter that can be referred to EOCO is referred to the Ghana Police Service, it's good. They take it up. We collaborate very well with them. There are times that we do freezing of assets on their behalf. They write to us to do it on their behalf. So we have very good working relations with the Ghana Police Service. There's no duplication of work. Even though some, you look at the functions and say that, oh, these functions, the Ghana Police is also investigating this cyber crime and all that, but there's no duplication in here.
Okay, I'll come back so that you touch on the Ibrahim Mahama case. Who is supposed to handle, EOCO or police, even with the relationship that you have? But I have Richard from La Paz. Hello, Richard.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Richard.
Yeah, what I know about EOCO is this: they become very effective and active when there is a change of government. Then you see them showing their catch-up powers on former government officials. And when there is an old government, they become dormant. You don't hear of EOCO. Ask Madam. Why is it so? Why is it that when there is a change of government, they become active, try to do as if they are working for the nation? Meanwhile, I don't know.
Richard, I'll prefer that you will suggest something to them, because I think everybody calling is complaining about this particular one. So what do you suggest be done?
So long as the president appoints the head, there is nothing they can do unless they always work to please the government of the day. But if they can be independent of themselves, whether you are a government official or not, then they arrest you and prosecute you. Let the law take its own course. In the state like this, whether you are a government official or not, when the law gets you, they deal with you drastically.
Good.
But over here, we try to give preferences, which I think is very bad. Yeah, so what we can do is to let the law work and do not show favoritism. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And that will be my last caller. This one says, please, the Attorney General is also appointed by the same executive. How can such a body be able to prosecute if the executive or its cronies fault? I am just thinking aloud. Okay, but you didn't add your name. So let's come to the Ibrahim Mahama thing and your educational roadmap. Then we close on this one. Who is supposed to handle the case? Is it Ghana Police or EOCO?
EOCO investigated the matter. So it's EOCO that investigated the said matter. The Ghana Police could have as well investigated it, but in this case, it was EOCO that investigated.
Why EOCO and not the police?
Just like I said, any of us could have investigated the matter. It doesn't mean that because EOCO is more powerful than the Ghana Police. Any of us could have investigated the matter, but EOCO investigated the matter in this regard.
Okay, so let's have
any of the law enforcement agencies could have investigated it, the matter, but in this case, it's EOCO that investigated the said matter.
And how far have you gone with that matter?
I think he's paid. He was given a deadline to pay the said money, and he's done so. The docket has been forwarded to the Attorney General's Department for advice.
Great. Let's hear about the roadmap. You said you are starting from the schools.
We are starting from the
secondary
schools, and we have a reason for selecting the secondary schools, because the topic has to do with cyber crime activities. We've investigated quite a number of cases, and a lot of the youth fall into that category of offenses that we've investigated. So we want to talk to them about the dangers involved in engaging in such activity and the consequence that comes along with it. After the secondary schools, we roll another program to engage the media. We'll have a program to engage the media, just like we are here today. We will engage the media. We've already written to some media houses to publicize our websites, and a lot of calls, to be honest with you. We started quite recently, but a lot of calls are coming through and people are giving us credible and relevant information. So we also engage the media, and just like people are saying that also the markets women are also involved. The public is lots. Our stakeholders are quite a number. So we roll it in phases to be able to see how best people can hear of us. Not really as to the details of what we are doing, but our functions and how people can collaborate and build confidence in us that we are an agency set up to carry out a particular mandate, and we are all ready and all out for it.
Okay, so your hotline again and your website. Finally, that will be it, so that we go.
So the hotline is 0302 634363, and our email address is eoco@eoco.org.gh, and our website is www.eoco.org.gh, and we are in all the regional capital. Our offices are located in all the 10 regions.
So in Accra, where particularly can we find you?
We are adjacent the hockey pitch, close to the old Parliament House. Once you get to Tema Station, hockey pitch, you see our building. EOCO is boldly written on it. So we are a friendly institution. So walk in, feel comfortable. Don't be scared of the structure, but just be bold enough and walk in, and we'll receive you.
Good. Mrs. Jacqueline Avotri is the head of public education of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, as we all know it to be, and she is also a lawyer by profession. And few ones in here says, I think it is crystal clear from the public opinion that EOCO has not done much so far in selling itself, their existence, their duties, etc. to Ghanaians. More must be done to let the people of Ghana get to know about them. And this one is from Newton in Accra. And this one says, we need more education on their mandate. We are going to put them in check. Still from Black Ashanti, right? The people say they will keep you in check. And this has been Ed, the Reporters Roundtable, the holiday edition. My name is Rebecca Ewa, and thanks to all the technical crew who helped in putting this program together. One thing I've learned on the program today is that we should be bold and enter the EOCO offices and not be scared of their structure. Again, when we talked about Africa's transformative development, two key things that the panel said that I have taken home. I don't know whether you have taken it home. It says that if you want to effect a change, target a position. And the number two is, before you conquer the world, you need to conquer yourself. We are out of here. Stay blessed. Let's meet again.